I'm gonna be honest. I was waiting for someone to say, now this is Riot Racing. Oh, that would have been ridiculous. How's everyone doing today, guys? My name's T-Codes, and we got another episode of the Bad Batch. This is episode 4 of season 2, or episode 20 of the series, Faster. Yeah, they do say that a few times in this episode. I'm being honest, every time I hear Faster, I just keep thinking of the Jeff Goldblum kind of thing, line from Jurassic Park. Must go faster, must go faster. But, no, so this is just one of those, it's just one of those fun episodes again. But I like this episode because, one, it's not the entire group that's there, you know? Like, when you have, like, some of these adventures in Season 1, usually the whole group is present, so, you know, you're like, okay, you got Hunter, Echo, Omega, Wrecker, and Tech. So what are they gonna do? Here, you only have Omega, Wrecker, Tech, and technically Sid's there, but, you know, Sid's more of, like, the bystander in this. Because Tech is the one who does most of the main work in this episode. Wrecker and Omega are kind of the support team here. I mean, you know, they're watching him, they're giving him pointers and stuff, they're calling stuff out. But no, here it is just, man, it's okay. So let's just go through the episode. So basically, the reason why it's Tech, Wrecker, and Omega instead of the whole group is because Echo and Hunter are off on their own thing. They're doing a delivery, I think, is what they did. I'm just like, you know, I mean, it makes sense. I think that's just the writers and the creators just wanting an episode where you kind of split the party up and see what happens. Especially in these type of episodes where, I mean, they did that in Ruins of War, you know, the party was split up and they had to do their own thing. This time around, the party's split up and they got to do their own thing, but it's because they're doing two separate jobs instead of like one job going wrong and they got to group back up. So here, the job that Tech, Wrecker, Echo, and Sid, Tech, Wrecker, Omega, and Sid, excuse me, is they go to this planet, Saphatoma, and they basically are just witnessing this Riot Racing, which is, I have so many people, like, some people are calling it like Star Wars Mario Kart. It's like pod racing, except if you took away like the actual like pod engines, and you just have like a smaller like pod like speeder, you know, and it's tightly compact. You're racing through these tunnels. You got these kind of like skateboarding ramps here and there, you know, it's like, and you also got weapons, so you can be firing at opponents, you got shields, you got all this crazy stuff, and it looks a lot of fun, and of course at the same time, it looks so obvious that they want to make a game out of this. Like, I will not be surprised if this becomes like a multiplayer game that EA might come out with, or just, I don't know, anything Star Wars will, because it was so obvious, but at the same time, it does look like fun. Especially when you have Ben Schwartz and Ernie Hudson present. Yeah, because that's a thing. Those are things. Yeah, it's so the reason why they're there is because Sid is, you know, looking to make some more money, and so she is riding on her main driver for the race, and that is Teo, who's a droid, and he's voiced by Ben Schwartz, and he has the attitude of a Ben Schwartz character, and I was waiting for him to say something like he's got to go fast, because, you know, he does the Sonic, he's Sonic, but no, this episode, it's just him, he's the main driver, that is, until, this big bad, you know, this kind of like big bad criminal gangster, I wouldn't call him gangster, more of like this crime lord comes in who, I forget the species he is, but it's the same species as the Ninth Sister from Jedi Fallen Order. Like, he's the same species as her. Although I was just completely distracted by the fact that it was freaking Ernie Hudson. Which is odd, because at first I didn't think it was Ernie Hudson. I think he's Michael Jai White. who voices, he was Spawn in the 97 Spawn movie, but he's had a few voice roles since then. Like, he currently, recently, he voiced Blade in the Midnight Suns game that came out in December, which I played, and I really had fun with that. I thought he was great as Blade. So I thought that was him at first, but no, like, it took me a real minute to realize, like, no, that's not him. That's Ernie freaking Hudson. Holy cow. I mean, it's Disney, it's Star Wars, so I guess it shouldn't be too surprising that you get Ben Schwartz and Ernie Hudson the cameo in this. And, man, no, it's so, yeah, no, but basically, to sum it up briefly, this is the classic, like, oh, you want to race? Okay, fine. Well, my racer against your racer. I mean, but of course, it's like, they're not going to do like a, just one race. It's two races because you got to have Ben Schwartz's droid Teo. He's in the first race. He loses because Ernie Hudson's group, he has multiple racers sabotage him in the race, because he had a guy in front, you got a guy behind them, they boxed him in. Wrecked his pod, caused him to crash, caused him to literally be wrecked, so they had to fix him up. But then it leads it leads to him, oh my god, this is so messed up. It's just he gets destroyed, gets put back together, only to be destroyed once again because he gets run over by a pod. He's just standing there, he's kind of having an argument with Tech, and that's the thing, like, Tech, he's watching this race, he's learning all the patterns, he's analyzing everything, he's trying to figure out, like, what's the best strategy for racing, and of course, Teo is, like, completely against him for that, because he's like, no, he's like, no, that is he's like, that's not how you want to be doing this race. You gotta be smart, you gotta have power, you gotta be fast. He's like, offense is the best thing to do. And then he then proceeds to get literally obliterated by a pod. And so he gets destroyed before the second race. So then Tech steps in to race because, like I said, he analyzed the races, he's been watching them, he's been learning the strategies, he's been trying to figure out what's like the best way to do this. And not to mention, Sid's life is basically on the line because after they lose the first race, Sid is in debt. And so then Omega then makes a deal with Ernie Hudson to basically double or nothing, and our unfortunately for them, it's like we lose again. Sid, Ernie Hudson gets Sid because of him and Sid have a little bit of a history. So that's a nice little mystery element in there to kind of like, at least for the Bad Batch, because, I mean, who knows, maybe they'll have, like, a story arc with Sid here, and we get to kind of learn more about her past, and, like, maybe she is a lot more ruthless than we think, or, and all that, but, no, it's just, man, it's really just a fun episode, and, I mean, Tech's race is a lot of fun, especially when, okay, I'll say this, there is some times where you can have the dark humor and it is like, it's funny, but then there's but I think I really enjoy it when the dark humor is both funny, but it catches you completely off guard. And that's what happened in this one, because the thing about Riot Racing is, these, like I said, these pods have weapons, they have blasters, so you can imagine what would happen, like, and it does happen, one of the pods, it's going through, but then it gets hit and it's firing, and all of a sudden it gets turned towards the crowd ducks, and it seems like everyone's fine, but then they pan to this one dude who literally has a hole in his chest, and he just like, he's dead. And it's not like a droid, it wasn't a droid, it's like just some guy who, it's such a dark moment, but it got me laughing. I've seen Gravity. I watch Rick and Morty. I watch The Boys. I watch Gravity Falls. There's some dark humor in a lot of stuff. But then, of course, the kicker is the announcer afterwards is basically saying, like, we're not responsible for any harm or injury or death that happens here because, literally, it's like, you're coming to this place where you get blaster fire and all that, yada yada. Even though they could have easily, have like a protective shield over the crowd if they were worried about that. But geez, It's just such a dark moment. And then I thought that honestly, it was so funny and dark when when Teo gets obliterated the second time. I'm laughing, but I'm like thinking back to the dude who got shot in the chest, and I'm like, maybe that was darker. But no, yeah, no, it's. I do like it when Bad Batch does that because, again, this is. You get Clone Wars, that was its own thing, and then you had Disney buy Star Wars, and then they had Rebels, which was a bit lighter than Clone Wars, and now you got Bad Batch, and you're trying to figure out, is Bad Batch gonna lean more towards Clone Wars, or is it gonna lean more towards Rebels? And for the most part, it's kind of doing like a seesaw action, like sometimes it does things that definitely you would see in Clone Wars, but then you have some things that might be seen in Rebels a little bit more. But I just love it every time it sways back to Clone Wars in some way or shape or form. And in this case, the humor is what sways it back to Clone Wars because of how dark it is. It's so funny. But okay, going to the race itself, like I said, it's like you got a bunch of tunnels, you got to kind of like this skateboard kind of section, you just got a bunch of like the half pipe ramps. And then you have, like, the 3 tunnels where it's, like, you got the main one, you got, like, these 2 main ones, and then you got the, like, don't you dare go this way because it's super dangerous, but it's also a shortcut. Which, again, I was, like, thinking, like, that's probably what it is. It's probably, like, some shortcut, but you gotta, like, make the jump, like it's Mario Kart. And that's exactly what it is. Like, I love Tech. He's racing through this, and he's like, multitasking. He's like, Omega, whip up. He's like, Omega, whip up the schematics of that tunnel. And Wrecker's like, shouldn't you be focusing on not dying in the race? And then Tech just calmly replies, I can do both. Because, I mean, when you think about Tech, like, when people think about the Bad Batch, I feel like most people think, like, well, it's Hunter. Hunter, he's super, he has that hypersensitivity, he's very well skilled in combat, and he's just kind of like this leader kind of thing. You have Wrecker, who's obviously the brute. You have Crosshairs, who's the sharpshooter. You have Echo, who's technically not part of the technically not a desired mutation, but he's just part droid, so he's able to do that. When you think of Tech, you think of mainly, he's the brains. He knows. He's the smart one. But you could also forget that he's also their pilot. He's kind of like an ace pilot in some cases, which is exactly what he does here. He just plays this race out, and as he calls it, he has strategy. He's like, he knows what he's doing. It's called strategy, and that's kind of what he does here. He has this plan. He obviously wants to win the race, but he just is thinking about not only offense but defense. He doesn't want to get caught too much in a fight, so that's why he kind of hangs out in the back, so the fighting happens and he can kind of weave his way through it. And then eventually he even ditches his main weapons because they're bringing too much weight, and he wants some speed. Because when he goes through the shortcut, which is basically like it's a tunnel, but then it's like a reverse half pipe where instead of on the ground like this, it's this. So you have to be and it's long. It's a long broken half pipe. So you gotta be able to ramp up and have the speed to make it to the other side. And as we see, someone follows Tech through it. Tech makes it, the other guy doesn't, which is also another kind of dark moment, I guess, but, it's more just like to show that Tech made the right call of ditching his weapons, which were weighing him down, and taking that risk, because, again, it's a shortcut. He finds his way to the front. He seemingly is, I like it when Wrecker says don't get boxed in, because for me, that just takes me back to my track and field days, where I'm always hearing, like, especially when you're in those long distance races where you got everyone, and it's like, you don't want to be boxed in, because, if you got a guy in front, you got a guy to your right, you got a guy behind you, you can't move, you really can't move. So, like, here in Tech's case, he's got a guy in front, a guy behind, and he has some space to the side. But, the guy from behind has a grappler, and the guy in front has a saw blade. So, he doesn't want to get sandwiched in between them. And of course, what does he do? He just, when the guy with the grappler fires, Tech swims out of the way. Guy gets caught. Blade, they both meet. And it's just, Tech wins. Oh, and the freaking announcer guy is also fun, because it's just like, he's just like reading all these names. And speaking of that, got a lot of droids in this race. Like, I mean, Teo's a droid, but you also got, like, you have, like, a commando droid that's, like, that spray painted red. You had a few like C3POS droids. I forget what they're named. Man, I don't know why I'm blanking on that. Then you had one who is who it's like C3PO, or it's like in Attack of the Clones. Yes, I am referring to that movie. It's when C3PO loses his head and he gets replaced with the B1 battle droid head, like it's the B1 battle droid head with the C3PO body. That's a thing in this too. It's one of the drivers. It's so ridiculous, but it's a lot of fun. It's pretty cool and it's pretty crafty. And again, you probably imagine if there's a video game like this and you get to customize not only your pod, but also your character, I imagine that would be a thing. All right. Okay. So after Tech wins the race, and the announcer guy is like, Tech, like Tech. Is that his name? Is that his name? Tech. Okay. Tech wins. Pretty funny. But no. So Tech wins. They say they get Sid out of the situation. Sid says she owes them one, and Tech, of course, just like, he's like, yes, you certainly do. And then, but then Ernie Hudson plants the seed on him, Omega, and Wrecker, that being like, loyalty doesn't always go both ways. It's like, you're loyal to Sid, but is Sid really loyal to you guys? It's like, she could easily drop you like that if it means she can make she can make profit, right? And it's just like, or to save her own skin, Again, it's interesting that they're kind of planting this stuff, It's like, I mean, beforehand, you kind of had that mystery of Sid, It's like, are they just gonna kind of keep her as like the standard? Oh, she's just the person they go to for work kind of thing, or are they actually gonna give her some backstory? Have us try and figure out what's her deal, what's her history. Is it good? Is it bad? Is the Bad Batch gonna trust them afterwards? Are they gonna stick with her, or is it gonna, or what? And it's, again, it's a little bit, it's. I like to see that, especially in a show like this, because I mean, again, first season was more just them trying to readjust, survive, and maybe keep Omega safe, and maybe figure out how to get Crosshair back. But now here, it's just, you're just more of just them trying to do their job, but them not knowing that Rampart knows that they're alive and that he needs to wipe them off the board. Crosshair is doing his thing, and he's maybe questioning his decision to stay with the Empire, and now we got this thing with Sid. So who knows how all this is gonna culminate? Who knows? But anything else? No, yeah, like I said, it's just a really fun episode, and again, if this becomes a video game, who's gonna be surprised, right? Alright, so yeah, that's everything I got with this one, and we'll just see you in the next episode. So I hope you guys enjoyed that, and yeah, see you in episode 5.